Well, the spiritual truth that I'm working with right now is that the moment of your greatest power is right now. The moment of your greatest power is right now. But the trick is, the moment of your greatest power can be a fresh moment, or it can be a reworked moment. For many of us, we're handling our power over to our history. We're saying things like, here, Rick, will you come and figure out what's going on here? We're just going to take a moment, talk amongst yourself. Rick is going to get me back onto my notes here, see what's going on. Help desk, yeah, just arrived. Helps to turn it on. Okay, good. Yes, yes. So let me just say it again. The moment, the greatest power that you have is that power that you have right this second. Now, a lot of times we just give our power away. For many of us, we're handing our power over to our history. We're saying, here, childhood abuse that happened 40 years ago, here, you can have my power still. You can take that still. Here, boss who fired me 2 years ago, you can have my power. Or partner, ex-partner, 4 partners ago, you can still have my power. You can still tell me that I'm not good enough, and I'll cooperate in feeling less than you for a little while longer. Or my personal favorite, scale. You take my power. And then I'll know whether I feel like a failure or whether I feel like a successful person for a little longer. You know, I say this a lot in this church, but I want to keep saying it over and over and over again until it's absolutely a muscle memory for us. We, scientist after scientist after scientist after scientist, tells us that we think about 60 to 90,000 thoughts every single day. And 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts that we thought yesterday. We who are in religious science, we who study science of mind, we have an opportunity to expand that idea, and we need to. We need to ask ourselves what it is we want in this world, and then we need to make sure that we have a present moment free enough to empower that desire. Moments free of past, moments free of our memories and our resentments, moments that aren't concerned with impending doom that we make up before it even happens. You know, sometimes in my meditation in the morning, I realize that I've wasted my precious moment, my now moment, by rehashing a conversation that I had the day before. Or sometimes I waste my precious moment by worrying about what's going to happen next, or what's happening outside of my purview right now. We have been broken into 4 times in the last 5 months in this church. And I realized I was spending a lot of my meditation time trying to figure out how to keep us from being broken into. That is not a good use of my now moment. My now moment that gives me that power. In short, I have no self-mastery over my life because I've handed it over to my past, or I'm handing it over to my future. To help us deepen our self-mastery, I've been working with a book, and I'm taking a slow ride through it. I might take all summer, I'm not sure. A slow ride through this book called SQ21, The 21 Skills of Spiritual Intelligence. Now, what is a spiritually intelligent person? A spiritually intelligent person is a person who behaves with compassion and wisdom while maintaining inner and outer peace no matter what the world throws at us. Now, I don't know about you, but I want that. I want to be able to see what the world throws at me and stay strong in my peace, stay strong in my center. Inner and outer peace, the great thing about these skills is that they're both very deep and they're also both very understandable and doable. And that's the best spirituality for me. It's that spirituality that's both deep, but it's so easy to understand, so easy to work with if we're willing to work with it. And with all skills, they only get better with practice. In the last several weeks, we've covered skills 1 through 12, and they're available on your YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is on the front of your bulletin, we've got them all there. Today we're continuing on with skill number 13, and that is Keeping your higher self in charge. Skill number 13, keeping your higher self in charge. It builds on the skill last week in which we asked you to gently put your ego over on the passenger side. Keep it cool, put it in the seatbelt, keep it safe, but don't let it drive the car. This goes a little further. We're saying not only put your ego in the passenger seat so your higher self can drive, but this one says keep it there. Keep it there. No drive sharing at all. No brakes. In Christian scripture, in the book of Matthew 6:33, it is written, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all good things will be added onto you. So, how do I know if I'm improving in the skill of keeping my higher self in charge? Well, Wigglesworth has about 5 attainment levels. They're really just conscious awareness levels. It just means being aware, more aware, more aware, more aware. Now, for those of you who came to the church this morning, you have a bonus, because I've already written in your notes. I put all 5 levels of attainment in your notes in case you didn't get to it. Those of you at home, it's on page 91 of the book if you want to go there. But I'm not going to go over those, but I just want you to be aware of them, that you can keep moving up your level of attainment of this idea of being spiritually intelligent. One key to mastering the skill is understanding the relationship between thought, emotion, and action. We learned in earlier skills that ego thoughts create emotional reactions. And that's true for me. My ego's involved, my emotions are going to be involved. If we let such thought run rampant, we will increase our emotional reactions that often include anger, blame, shame, victimhood, fear. You know, for instance, if we're dating somebody and another person comes on to them, our ego just shouts, no, he or she is mine. And our anger and our fear begin to drive our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. Our ego is not going to give us any long-term solution to that kind of a situation. Miguel Montaigu, a French philosopher, once wrote, not being able to govern events, I decided to just govern myself. Not being able to govern events, I just decided to govern myself. Governing ourselves is a result of knowing the skill, of keeping our higher self in charge. So how do we do this? Well, Jesus taught us a great lesson in how to do this. Do you remember when Peter wanted to walk on water? When Peter kept his consciousness high, he walked on the water. When he started listening to the apostles who were wringing their hands, who were having a cow that he was even attempting to walk on water, that's when he began to sink. And Jesus called to him and said, look at me, Peter. Look at me, Peter. I represent your higher self. Keep your eye on me. Don't run on autopilot. Don't start listening to the general rumble out there. This is a new day. This is your power moment. When we're on autopilot, we just keep going. We don't stop. We don't take a breath and assess the situation. We don't ask ourselves the question, is this my ego running the show, or is my higher power in charge? And if I do understand that I'm acting from ego, do I understand that it's not going to get me into a long-term satisfaction of this situation? If I could just stop myself and ask those questions. Wigglesworth says we can control our ego-based responses by creating a space between things that happen to us and our reactions to them. A space between things that are happening to us and how we respond. The truth is, there is always a space between what happens to us and how we respond to it. And by right of consciousness, we can increase that space and get our head screwed on. She calls this practice inserting the pause. Inserting the pause. Say that with me. Inserting the pause. It's in this pause when you will find your power. You can begin to ask yourself, who is running the show right now? Is it my ego, or is there a wiser way to handle What's going on here? By inserting a pause, it takes this. It takes practice. It takes us trying it and trying it and trying it in the midst of chaos. If you're not sure whether it's your ego or your higher self that showed up after the pause, ask yourself, is what I'm about to say kind? Is what I'm about to say necessary? Is what I'm about to say really true? Because you can bank on your higher self never saying anything that is not kind. You can bank on your higher self saying anything that is not true. You can bank on your higher self not saying anything that's not necessary. Developing mastery over this skill will fulfill the spiritual intelligence, behaving with compassion and wisdom while maintaining inner and outer peace no matter what the world throws at you. Skill number 14, living your purpose and your values. Now remember, skill number 2 was identifying your purpose. Skill number 3 was being aware of your values. Because spiritual intelligence is about how we behave. Simply knowing a purpose, simply being aware of your values is only a good start. But we need to be able to live it in our lives. Now, remember, your purpose may or may not be caught up in your job. If a poet or a photographer or being a great listener is your purpose, make sure you're doing it, whether it's your vocation or your avocation. It's not enough to know what it is. You have to know how to express it in your life. Why is it so important to be able to express it? Because if you're not expressing your purpose, you're going to be in a state of resentment. It will creep up. It will be slow, but that resentment will get there. And then you will be using that power moment, that moment of power, to be angry, to be mad. You can't be spiritually intelligent. In other words, you can't have wisdom and compassion and experience inner and outer peace no matter what the world throws at you when you're in resentment, when you're mad. And living your values is the same thing. If equality is a value for you and you allow racist jokes, homophobic comments to stand without interruption, you cannot experience spiritual intelligence. Wigglesworth asks us to look at our job and to experiment with this. Would we leave our job if there was a project or a policy that was not in alignment with our values? This is a question you can only answer for yourself. There are no shoulds here. There are times in our lives when we can't just walk out of a job because people depend on us for work. And it may not be totally in alignment with our value or our purpose. But what we do want to know is it will begin the process of stealing your power. And so now is the time, if that's the case for you, to begin working with a vision, with a plan, to get another kind of job in here, in your life. These are powerful spiritual principles. And if we can begin to use these 21 skills, so simple, even if we used them 5% of their full power, our lives would change immensely. You would come in here on Sunday mornings looking and feeling really different than you look and feel right now. See, sometimes we look for perfection in spirituality, but we call it spiritual practice for a reason. Because we want you to just put one foot in front of the other and take these spiritual principles, these spiritual skills of spiritual intelligence and begin to work with them little by little by little. Let's take this message into prayer. There's only one power. It's the power of the Most High. And it runs through me right now. It lights the sun, brings the moonlight, brings children from junior church to teen church, brings our teens to parenthood. I give so much thanks for life itself. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is. If you will take